I lied to my husband to spend the night with my lover, but we had an accident. Now he refuses to visit me at the hospital. Does he not see that I'm suffering? The pain is constant, a dull ache in my ribs every time I breathe, a sharp pain in my left leg which is in a cast and suspended in the air. But that physical pain is nothing compared to the pain of the silent telephone on my bedside table. I have been in this hospital bed for 3 days. 3 days since the nurse, with a mixture of pity and judgment on her face, helped me make the call. I dialed the number of my husband, Carlos, with trembling fingers. When he answered, his voice was full of panic. "Honey, where are you? You did not come home last night." I was about to call the police and I, with my voice broken by pain and sedatives, told him the official version, that my friend Laura and I had spontaneously decided to go to a country house for a girls' getaway, that we had an accident on a secondary road, that I was okay, but injured. His relief was palpable through the phone. He told me he was leaving for the hospital immediately, that I should not worry about anything. But then the nurse took the phone from me and with a cold efficiency gave him the real details. She told him the name of the hospital, my room number, and then added, "Your wife was not alone, sir. The other passenger, a Mr. Velasco, is in the room next door. He has minor injuries." Silence. A silence so deep and so long that I could hear the beeping of the machines around me. Finally, Carlos's voice returned, but it was no longer the voice of my worried husband, it was that of a stranger. He said with a calm that chilled me to the bone, "I understand. Thank you for the information." And he hung up. He has not called back. He has not come. I have tried to contact him dozens of times, but my number goes straight to voicemail. I have asked my sister to talk to him. She told me he refused, that he only said he needed time. Time? I'm in a hospital bed with a broken leg and 3 fractured ribs. I'm scared and alone. And he, the man who swore to love me in sickness and in health, has abandoned me. He is focusing on a small, stupid detail, on a lie, on the presence of Adrián Velasco in that car. He does not see the big picture. He does not see my pain. He does not see my suffering. I'm here broken and vulnerable, and his wounded pride is more important than my well-being. What kind of man does that? For you to understand the magnitude of his cruelty, you need to understand why Adrián was in that car. You need to understand the gray life from which I desperately needed to escape. Carlos and I have been married for 8 years, and if you had asked me a year ago, I would have said we were happy. We had a perfect life, a nice house in the suburbs, 2 cars in the garage, annual beach vacations. He has a good job in finance. He is a good man, a stable man. He loves me, I know, but his love became something predictable, comfortable, suffocating. Our life became an unchanging routine. The same dinners on Tuesdays, the same movies on Fridays, the same visits to his parents on Sundays. The passion, the spark we once had vanished, replaced by an affectionate friendship, but completely devoid of emotion. I felt like a pretty piece of furniture in his perfect house. I was safe. Yes, but I was also dying of boredom. I felt incredibly guilty for feeling this way. I had everything a woman is supposed to want. Who was I to complain? So I said nothing. I swallowed my dissatisfaction, smiled at family dinners, and pretended that predictability was all I had ever wanted. And then, 6 months ago, Adrián Velasco appeared. He was a client at the art gallery where I work part-time, more as a hobby than out of necessity. Adrián was everything Carlos was not. He was an impulsive artist, a little dangerous. He spoke with a passion about color and form that reminded me of the woman I used to be before I became Carlos's wife. We started talking, first about art, then about life. I vaguely told him about my feeling of stagnation, and he understood me. He did not judge me. He looked at me as if I were a work of art, not a household appliance. He made me feel seen, alive. The conversations turned into secret coffees. The coffees turned into long lunches. I knew I was crossing a line, but I told myself it was just a friendship that was saving me, that was giving me the oxygen I needed to not drown in my perfect, predictable life. Carlos, of course, knew nothing. To him, I was still the same happy wife as always. The lie was easy. It was my little secret, my little piece of life that was just mine. Adrian was my escape. I did not plan to leave Carlos. I did not want to destroy my life. I just wanted a supplement. I wanted Carlos's stability and Adrian's excitement. I thought I could have both worlds as long as I was careful enough. I thought I deserved a little happiness, a little spark to be able to continue enduring the monotony of the rest of my life. It was not a betrayal, I told myself. It was a survival strategy. The idea of the one-night trip was Adrian's. He told me he knew an incredible country house about 2 hours from the city. An isolated place, with a fireplace, no phone reception. A place where we could be just us, without the fear of being discovered. My first reaction was panic. It was a huge risk. Secret lunches in the city were one thing, but disappearing for an entire night was something else entirely. But the idea settled in my mind and began to grow. The image of that night, of passion, of adventure, was too tempting. It was the ultimate antidote to my gray life. It would be one night, just one, a memory I could hold on to during the long, boring weekends with Carlos. The lie I constructed was meticulous. I told Carlos a week in advance that my best friend Laura, who lives in another city, was going through a terrible crisis and needed a girl's getaway. I told him I had booked a country house for the two of us to support her. Carlos, of course, believed it without hesitation. He even helped me pack. He told me I was a good friend, that he admired me for it. Every word of support from him was a small stab of guilt, but I ignored it. This was something I needed to do for me. On Friday afternoon, I said goodbye to Carlos with a kiss. I told him I loved him and that we would see each other on Saturday night. Then I drove to a meeting point on the outskirts of the city where I left my car and got into Adrian's. As soon as I got into his car, I felt liberated. I left Carlos's wife behind and became the woman who was with Adrian. The secondary road unfolded before us. The music was playing at full volume, and I felt more alive than I had in years. We were half an hour from our destination. It was raining, the road was dark and slippery. Adrian was driving and I was telling him a funny anecdote, gesticulating. At one point I put my hand on the gear shift. He looked at me smiling and in that second of distraction, it all happened. I did not see what happened. I just felt a violent swerve. I heard the screech of tires and then a deafening impact. The world spun. There was a sound of breaking glass, of twisting metal, and then darkness and pain. The next thing I remember is the light of a flashlight in my face. The voice of a paramedic. They pulled me out of the wrecked car. I saw Adrian on another stretcher, conscious, with blood on his face. And my first coherent thought amidst the pain and panic, was not about my health. It was, oh my God, how am I going to explain this? The accident was not a choice, it was an act of fate, a horrible turn of events, an event beyond my control, and now I'm paying the price, not only with my broken body, but with the abandonment of the man who is supposed to care for me no matter the circumstances. The first few days in the hospital were a blur of pain, sedatives, and the humiliating realization of my loneliness. Adrian, in the room next door, was discharged on the second day. He left without a word, not a message, not a visit. The great adventurer, the man of passion, fled at the first sign of real trouble. Another disappointment in a long list of them, but his cowardice was nothing compared to that of Carlos. My own husband, the man who in theory should have been sitting in that uncomfortable chair next to my bed. After 2 days of total silence, my sister, Anna, finally managed to talk to him. She came to see me at the hospital with her face contorted with worry and, I now realize, with shame. She told me about the conversation. She said that at first Carlos had refused to talk about me, but Anna insisted and finally he spoke. According to Anna, Carlos did not yell, he did not insult her, he spoke in a deathly calm voice. He told her, please, tell your sister that I hope she recovers soon and tell her that I have contacted a lawyer. He will send the divorce papers to the hospital. When Anna told me that, I felt the hospital floor open up under my bed. Divorce? He had not even spoken to me, he had not even listened to me, but it was what he said next that revealed the true depth of his cruelty. Carlos explained to Anna that after the nurse's call, he had made a call of his own. To my best friend, Laura, the one from the alibi. And of course, Laura, who knew nothing, told him the truth, that they had not spoken in weeks and had no plans to go to a country house. Carlos told Anna, "It is not the infidelity that I cannot forgive. It is the lie. It is the level of premeditation." She looked me in the eyes, she kissed me, she let me help her pack a suitcase for an elaborate lie. She constructed a whole story to deceive me. And then, the discovery, the revelation that changed everything. Anna told me with a trembling voice that Carlos had gone to the accident scene. The police had allowed him, and he had seen the car, and he had seen what was inside. Not just my weekend bag, but also a small lingerie bag that I had given him for our anniversary. A bag that I had told him I was saving for a special occasion. He saw that, Anna told me, and he said that at that moment he realized that you had not only lied to him about where you were going, but about why you were going. It was as if you had rubbed the betrayal in his face. I heard Anna's words, and for the first time, I felt a wave of cold that had nothing to do with the hospital's air conditioning. The logic of my situation collapsed. In my mind, the accident was a tragedy that should have erased my transgression. It should have generated sympathy, compassion, but for him, the accident was not a blur, it was a spotlight. It was the physical and brutal evidence of my deceit. Every piece of clothing in that suitcase, every object, had become a piece of evidence in the trial of our relationship. He did not see me as an injured woman who needed her husband. He saw me as a liar who had been caught in the most dramatic way possible. And his response was not care, it was exile. So here I'm, alone in this hospital bed that has become my prison and my courtroom. The broken leg will heal, the ribs will mend, but Carlos's betrayal, his abandonment in my moment of greatest need, that is a wound I don't think will ever heal. He talks about my lie, about the lingerie, about the premeditation. He focuses on the details to avoid the bigger truth that he swore to be with me in sickness and in health. And this, whether we like it or not, is the sickness. I'm hurt, I'm suffering. And his response is to send me divorce papers. What kind of love is that? A conditional love. A love that only exists as long as I'm the perfect, predictable wife. People, my sister, even the nurses who look at me with pity, focus on my mistake. They see the infidelity. They don't see the years of monotony, the slow death of the spirit that led me to seek a breath of fresh air. Do they not see that my affair was not an act against Carlos, but an act in favor of my own survival? It was a desperate attempt to feel something, and the universe, in its cruel irony, punished me for it. The accident was my penance, a painful physical punishment for my moral error. And it is not enough. Have I not suffered enough already? I have scars. I will have months of rehabilitation. I have paid my debt in full, but for Carlos, my suffering is not enough. It does not inspire compassion in him, but contempt. He does not see his injured wife. He sees a criminal who has gotten what she deserved. Instead of caring for me, he is taking advantage of my moment of greatest weakness to abandon me, to throw me out of his life. He is using my physical pain to justify his own emotional cruelty. Does he not see that I'm suffering? He sees it perfectly, and he does not care. Or worse, maybe he is glad. Maybe in his mind, my broken leg is just retribution for his broken heart. But he is wrong. A broken heart heals. A broken promise. The sacred vow to care for your partner in sickness. That leaves a stain forever. I made a mistake, yes, but he, by abandoning me in this hospital bed, has committed a sin. And while I face my physical recovery, he will have to live the rest of his life knowing that when things got tough, when life fulfilled the in sickness part, he fled like a coward. I was unfaithful to our marriage. He has been unfaithful to basic humanity, and I don't know which is worse. Popular comments from Reddit. Anonymous User 1. You went to spend a night with your lover, you lied to your husband about it, and you had an accident. And now you are angry because he is not rushing to your side to take care of you. What planet are you from? He is not abandoning you in sickness. He is abandoning you because you were unfaithful to him. The accident is just the proof of the crime. Anonymous User 2. The accident was my penance. No, the accident was the consequence of your bad decisions. You are trying to frame a random event as some kind of cosmic absolution. It does not work that way. You broke your vows first. You cannot demand that he keep his when you are literally in the hospital for having broken them. Protagonist's response. The vows are not a contract of if you break one, I can break another. They are supposed to be unconditional. Sickness is sickness, no matter how you get it. A real husband would have overcome his anger to care for the person he loves. His inability to do so shows that his love was never real. Anonymous User 3. You sound like a professional victim. Everything is the fault of monotony, of fate, of the accident, of your husband's reaction. At no point do you say, I messed up monumentally and now I'm paying the price. He does not owe you his compassion. You owe him an apology that will probably never come. Protagonist's response. Of course I made a mistake, but my mistake has already punished me with physical pain. Am I supposed to accept the emotional punishment of abandonment as well? At what point is it considered that I have suffered enough? His reaction is not fair, it is vengeful, and that says more about him than it does about me. Update 1. I was discharged from the hospital a week ago, a week that has somehow been worse than being admitted. My sister Anna came to pick me up. I had to leave in a wheelchair with my leg in a cast at an uncomfortable angle. The humiliation was total. I could not go back to our house. While I was bedridden and recovering, Carlos had been busy. He told Anna that he did not want me back there. He had changed the locks. He packed my things all my life in cardboard boxes and sent them to my parents' house, where I'm now relegated to my childhood bedroom. A married woman in her 30s sleeping in the same bed where she dreamed of a future that now seems like a cruel joke. I read the comments. People call me a professional victim. They say I owe him an apology. An apology for being hurt, for needing my husband. The world is crazy. My mistake was a momentary lapse. His cruelty is a premeditated and continuous act. I have tried to contact him through Anna, through his parents. The wall is made of stone. His father, who always adored me, told my sister that his son is going through the worst time of his life and that he needs space to heal from the humiliation. The humiliation. I'm the one who has to learn to walk again. I'm the one who faces months of physical therapy. But the real kick in the stomach, the definitive proof of his ruthless character, came yesterday. The divorce papers. A messenger delivered them to my parents' house. My mother brought them to my room with a look of infinite sadness. And they were not just standard divorce papers, they were a declaration of war. His lawyers argue flagrant adultery, and because of this, they are contesting any right I might have to alimony. The man who encouraged me to leave my career to become a housewife, the one who made me financially dependent on him, is now using my infidelity to ensure that I'm left with absolutely nothing. Do you not see? This is no longer about a broken heart. This is about money. This is a punishment. He is using his power and his wealth to crush me, to leave me broken in every sense, physically, emotionally, and now, financially. Meanwhile, I found out that Adrian Velasco, the man for whom I risked everything, has disappeared from the map. His phone number is disconnected. He has deleted his social media profiles. The passionate artist did not have the courage to face the consequences. Another cowardly man in my life. So I'm here in my old bedroom with a broken leg, no husband, no money, and a future that looks like an abyss. And all I can think about is the injustice of it all. My physical suffering, my pain, should have been the bridge to forgiveness, an opportunity for him to demonstrate the strength of his vows. Instead, he has used it as a distraction, a moment of weakness on my part to methodically demolish my life. He is not healing, he is getting revenge, and I'm the sole target of his war. Final update. 4 months have passed since the accident. 4 months of a slow and painful reconstruction. Physical therapy is hell. Every step I take with the crutch is a reminder of that night. I live on the charity of my parents. A daily humiliation that I accept with a bitter gratitude. The divorce is proceeding, a slow, impersonal legal machine designed to strip me of everything. I have accepted my new reality. I have accepted that Carlos hates me, that the world sees me as the villain. I have stopped fighting. I have stopped trying to explain my point of view. I simply survive. The end of this whole story, the piece that finally fit into the puzzle of my misery, came last week with a phone call. It was an unknown number. I answered expecting it to be another call from the lawyers, but it was not. It was Carlos. I froze. His voice, which I had not heard in months, sounded strange, tired. He did not call to yell. He did not call to insult me. He called because his mother had insisted. She had told him that he owed me at least one final conversation. We did not talk about the divorce or the money. He asked about my leg. I answered in monosyllables. And then he said what he had to say. He told me, "I know you think I'm a monster. I know you think I abandoned you, and I need you to understand why I did it." There was a long pause. Then he continued. "When the nurse called me, my world stopped. But it was not because of the infidelity, it was because of the lie. I realized that for weeks you had been looking me in the face, smiling while you planned to betray me. I realized that the man I thought I was, your husband, your rock, did not exist for you. I was just an obstacle, an inconvenience in your plans. But the real moment," he said, and his voice broke for the first time, "was when I went to the impound lot to see the car. It was not because of the lingerie, it was because of the baby seat." I remained silent, not understanding. "What baby seat?" He continued with a choked voice. "The safety seat for our nephew, the one I installed in the back seat the week before because we were going to babysit him. The one you saw me put in. It was in the car you were taking with your lover." And when I saw it, destroyed by the impact, the only thing I could think was, what if the baby had been there? What if your plans had been different? Would you have endangered a child for your affair? And at that moment, he concluded, I realized that I did not know you anymore. The woman I married, the one with such a big heart, would never have been so reckless, so selfish. And I could not stay married to a stranger. It was not about punishing you, it was about you saving me. You showed me who you really were before it was too late." He hung up. I was left with the phone in my hand with his words echoing in my ears. The baby seat? A detail I had completely forgotten, a detail that to him meant everything. And I understood his narrative. In his story, he is not the cruel husband who abandons his injured wife. He is the hero who escaped from a dangerous and reckless woman. My suffering, my broken leg, my pain, none of that matters in his version. They are just minor details in the story of his great escape. He does not see my suffering, he sees his own luck. So this is the end. I'm branded. Not only with the physical scars of the accident, but with the label he has put on me, that of the selfish woman, the stranger, dangerous. And that is a sentence from which there is no appeal. My suffering will never be acknowledged, because in the story he tells himself to be able to sleep at night. I'm not the victim. I'm the accident from which he was lucky to escape unharmed. And there is nothing more lonely than suffering a pain that no one else is willing to see.